Did y'all just have like 73 nostalgic moments like I did? Oh my goodness. Oh, Bay Shore, good morning. Are you good? Are you happy to be here at all? Man, I haven't seen y'all since 2022. So happy 2023, people. And listen, good news. Right now, you have perfect church attendance for the year. Come on. Listen, high five somebody. Tell them you're off to a good start. Just tell somebody you're off to a good start. Oh, man. Hey, speaking of good, if you're a newbie, like if you're a first timer, good on you for showing up in a basement on the first Sunday of the year. We love having you here. And we hope you love being here as much as we love you being here. And so thank you so much for being here. And if you're a first-time guest, afterwards, I want to meet you. So come see me out in the lobby. I want to hang out with you, talk to you, get to know you a little bit. But can we just show some love to our first-timers and our onliners right now? Just thank you guys for tuning in. And I don't want to embarrass anybody. And before I get into everything, today my youth pastor from when I was a teenager showed up, and I haven't seen him in like decades. And Mr. Mike Truitt is right here on the third row. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to cry. But when I saw him, I just started bawling. I did. He changed my life. So, Mike Truitt, I love you, man. I appreciate you. I wouldn't be here without you. And I'm crying on the first Sunday of the year, but it's your fault, man. Anyway, bring it together. Hey, I'm proud of you. Well, thank you, man. I love that man. I really do. And this is a good, let me just segue. You should sign up for Bay Shore Kids. You know the impact this guy made on my life? Anyway, look, we should have worked that out ahead of time, man. That's like we planned it. Hey, 'tis the season for New Year's resolutions. Come on, how many of you are overachievers? You made a New Year's resolution. Let me see your hand. You made a New Year's resolution? 7 people. Why am I not surprised, Bay Shore? Here's the real question. You did not make a New Year's resolution. You're like, no, right, look. You know the best way to hit your goals? Don't have any. Don't set the bar high. Just get rid of the bar. Well, when people make New Year's resolutions, I don't know if you know this, but I looked this up this week. 95% of the time, there's something health-related on their list. And so how many of you've ever made a list and you put something health-related on it? Let me see if you've ever put something. Yeah, look at that. And so I want to be sensitive to that health stuff, the first Sunday of the year. So I just wanted to start out by talking about pizza. I think we got a video, actually, to just kind of get you thinking about pizza in the mode. Oh, my goodness. How do they make it steam like that? Come on, who's hungry right now? I mean, what is it, 10:30? It's not too early for pizza. Some of you are like, I had my New Year's resolution to be healthy, but we're 8 days in. I'm getting pizza, all right? Well, I appreciate that. So, I don't know if you know this, but there is a long-standing pizza debate in Rehoboth Beach. So, some of you are Team Grotto Pizza. Some of you are Team Nicola Pizza. Team Louis. There's all kinds of... So, I get that. I get that we're divided on this. And so, but here's the thing, guys. Friendships have ended over this. People have been written out of wills over this. This debate has been going on for tens of years. And I know you want to tell me your opinion right now, so just shout me down. If you're Team Grottos or Team Nicolas, just shout it out. Whatever one you are, Grottos, Nicolas. See, this is why, as a country, we'll never be united. We can't even agree on pizza, people. But listen, I want to just end this debate. I'm going to end it right now. Okay, you know what the best pizza is? Whatever pizza you're eating. I've never had a bad pizza. I love all pizza. I love Grotto's. I love Nicola's. I love those frozen pizzas over here. Aldi's, it costs like 23 cents. It's the size of a Buick. I love all pizza. Who just likes pizza? I mean, it's just pizza. I love pizza. And I really trace it back to when I was in elementary school. I'm an 80s kid. Any 80s kids? You grew up in the 80s? You know what? Yeah. So yeah, we know about like JanSport book bags, Trapper Keepers, the Pizza Hut Book It Club. Come on, somebody shout the good old days. So listen, Pizza Hut had this Book It program. Yeah, I found this on the internet this week. Who remembers Pizza Hut's Book It program? Yes. Listen, if you weren't an 80s kid or you weren't around in the 80s, let me just explain the Book It program. Around 1989, Pizza Hut was like, these kids are watching way too much Star Search with Ed McMahon. They need to read a book. And so they decided if you would read about 73,000 books in a month, they would give you your very own free, personal, steamy, cheesy, melty, saucy, smallest pizza you've ever seen in your life. But we all fell for it, okay? And so I found this pin or this picture, all right, yeah, online this week. Some of y'all never read 100 books to get a personal pizza, and it shows. Every one of my friends, we read so many books, and every Saturday, or once a month on Saturday, my mother would drive me to the Pizza Hut in Seaford, Delaware. It was like 8 hours away from her house. But it was the closest Pizza Hut. And I had read, 27,000 books that month. I had all the stickers on my pen, and I would go in and I would say, I read the book, and they'd be like, well done, 4th grade Joel. You're getting your free personal pan pizza. And I would hear angels sing. It was like the greatest. And when I was waiting, I would play the arcade game Golden Axe. Come on, who remembers arcade games? Yeah, listen, forget reading books. I need a quarter for some arcade medieval warfare, Mom. And I'm telling you, I'm not trying to oversell this. I think Book It was it was one of my best childhood memories. I loved the pizza, man. And then they ended Book It, and I didn't go back to Pizza Hut for 25 years. And I don't think I read books again for 25 years, okay? But a few years ago, it was like 7 or 8 years ago, a guy in our church was like, hey, Joe, I need to meet with you. Why don't we meet at the Pizza Hut in Rehoboth Beach? Rest in peace, okay? And so I was like, I remember walking into Pizza Hut for the first time in like 25 years, and it still smelled the same. It looked the same. I knew it was going to taste the same. I even thought about reading books again. I'm like, this is great. And I remember I got the Pizza Hut buffet, and I got that pizza. I was like transported back to the good old days, my childhood, and I tasted that first bite of pizza, and I thought, it's not really as good as I remember it. I mean, it's pizza. It's good, but it's not. It's at the bottom, all right? It's like not great. But you know what is great? Thinking about the good old days. Everybody say the good old days. Now, I don't know what the good old days were for you. Maybe it was going to Blockbuster Video on Friday night. Come on, renting 3 VHS tapes. Anybody just get a Holy Spirit goosebump, think about that? Maybe it was drinking an ice-cold Coca-Cola Classic out of the bottle. You remember that? Woo! Maybe it was playing the original Nintendo. Duck Hunt, Paperboy, or Atari. Some of you are different. Older. Now, hey, let's talk older. Maybe it was going to the roller rink on Friday night. There you go. Maybe it was back in your college days. Maybe it was back when you were young enough to eat whatever you wanted and not gain 973 pounds. Maybe it was back when your kids were still little. Maybe it was back when the family still all got along. Some of you are like, I can't even remember that far back. Maybe it was back before we all had mobile phones and your boss couldn't get a hold of you on the weekend. Maybe it was back when gas was not $3.29 a gallon. Who remembers gas for under $1? You remember that? Yeah, those were the days where we used to walk to school both ways uphill in the snow. But listen, one more time, just say the good old days. The good old days. And listen, wouldn't it be great if you could just go back to the good old days? Who wouldn't mind going back to the good old days? You wouldn't mind it? Just for a minute. Now, here's what I think. I think if we could go back to the good old days may not be as good as our memory of the good old days. Yeah. Just like Pizza Hut wasn't quite as good as my memory of Pizza Hut. Because if you notice that we tend to remember the good about the good old days, but we don't tend to remember the stress and worry of the good old days. Have you noticed this? We tend to romanticize the past at the cost of enjoying today. We romanticize yesterday, but today, 2023, we're like, I'm stressed. I'm worried. I'm busy. I got kids. Happy 2023. I just need to take a nap. Anybody else feel like this? Is it just me? Yeah. And so maybe you're like, what's your point, Joel? What are we talking about all this for? My point is that sometimes we can let stress and worry of today rob us from enjoying the God-given gift that every single day is. Sometimes we can let all the craziness of today rob us of enjoying the God-given gift that every single day is. It's like the great theologian Dr. Seuss said. I think we have this quote: sometimes you don't know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Ooh. Now, I'm curious, just kind of a pastor confession for me. I'm the king of letting stress and worry rob my moments of the now. Anybody else have that happen to you? So, for instance, on Christmas Day this year, and really every year, I'm trying to take in the moments because, listen, I have a 7 and a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old dog that wears a diaper. Okay, but these are the good old days right now, right? And so the kids are opening their presents and the fireplace is on and we're cooking scrapple for breakfast that morning, praise the Lord. And all I can think is, there is so much wrapping paper trash on this floor right now. Can these kids, I put the wrapping trash bag next, can they not put the trash in the bag? And I'm seeing the Amazon boxes stack up to the ceiling, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be breaking down boxes for the trash guy for the rest of my life. Does anybody else let mess and stress and worry get in the way of enjoying the moment? Is it just me? We do that. Maybe Dr. Seuss is right. Maybe we don't see the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And so today, the first time we're together this year, I just want to help you see that God can make today the good old days. God can make 2023 the good old days, no matter how stressed or worried or bad 2022 was. And to do that, I want to tell you about a guy in the Bible named Daniel. Everybody say Daniel. Now, if you went to Sunday school back in the good old days, you know about Daniel. Because Daniel was the guy that they threw into the... See, that Sunday school is kicking in, all right? So they threw him into the lion's den. You know that part of the story. But way before all that happened, Daniel was a teenager in Jerusalem. Everything was good. I don't think he really had a Pizza Hut on his street, but I'm pretty sure he had a hummus hut on his street. They had a book it program, a scribe program, or whatever. And so, life was good until the Babylonian Empire came and took over Jerusalem and kidnapped Daniel, took him back to Babylon, took him away from everything and everything that everyone and everything that he knew. And Daniel would spend the rest of his life in Babylon. Not good. And so Daniel could have romanticized the past, when he was at the hummus hut with his Hebrew boys, teenager. But instead of doing that, Daniel worked with what he had. And Daniel, listen, what Daniel did is he got in super good shape. He studied all things Babylon, and he got recruited from basically being kidnapped to a leader in Babylon. All right, and now all the locals did not like this because this is the tourists coming in, taking their jobs. And we all get, sometimes we as locals get a little crusty, you know what I'm saying? So let's pick it up there. So we're in Daniel chapter 6, starting in verse 4. Daniel's in Babylon, and it says, then the other administrators and high officers, the locals of Babylon, began searching for some fault in the way Daniel, this out-of-towner, was handling government affairs, but they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn because he was what? Faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. So Daniel, isn't it true that Daniel could have romanticized his teenage years and kind of like got stuck in the stress and worry of the moment that he was in when he was in Babylon? Isn't that true? But instead, Daniel worked with what he had, and he made the most of today. And so if you're taking notes, all right, write this down. If you're not taking notes, I always tell you this. Go ahead and jot this down anyway. Take a picture on your phone or put notes in your phone on this. All right, so the first idea that we're going to talk about today is this. If you want today to be the good old days, and we'll put this on the screen. If you want today to be the good old days, work with what you have to make the most of today. Work with what you have to make the most of today. Now, I started out by talking about pizza, so I thought we could continue talking about food. And I'll tell you kind of what goes down in my house at dinner time. I don't know what your house is like at dinner time, but at our house, just so you know, me and my wife, Stacy, one thing that we do together is we a lot of times make dinner together. It takes 2 people to make one of those Aldi's pizzas, you know what I'm saying? But we like to make the food together, but that's kind of the last thing that we do together when it comes to dinner time, because after dinner is made, me and my daughter Nora, she's my mini-me, the food is ready, it's hot, we get our food, we go to the table, we're ready to eat, and that's where everybody should be, is at the table when the food is ready and hot and ready to eat. Is this correct? Is this right? Okay, well, my whole family doesn't agree with that. Because my wife and my son, who I love so much, when the food is hot and ready, you can find them anywhere else in the house and at the table. They're somewhere else in the house. They could leave and go somewhere else in the neighborhood. They could go somewhere else in Sussex County. The only place they are not is at the table. And me and my daughter Nora, we sit there and we wait for them for minutes, people. 7 probably on average. We sit there, and Pastor Joel thinks things that can make him lose his job, because I'm just sitting there, and I'm waiting, and I've told you this before, Stacy, what she likes to do is go to the refrigerator and get every condiment out known to man. And I'm like, babe, we're eating pizza. We don't need syrup and peanut butter. We don't need that stuff. But she's like getting there, putting it on the table. And so it's just an ordeal. And so I remember a few years ago, me and Nora were sitting at the table like normal. Stacy and Nixon, who knows what they're doing. But finally, they start coming over to the table. And my boy Nixon, he went 3 for 3 that night. He dropped his cup of juice. He dropped his fork. He dropped his entire plate of food. He didn't get one thing to the table that night. Now, you're saying, oh, listen, if you need something dropped, you give it to my son. He will drop everything. He's got a lot of things, but not grip, okay? And so he could tell that somebody at the table, Pastor Joel, was about to blow a gasket. I was about to go into you need to hold the plate with both hands speech. You ever done that speech, parents? I was about to do that, but Nixon, his bottom lip started whimpering. And before I said anything, he said, I guess I'm no longer I will be part of this family. He was 5. And I was like, oh my God, no, Nixon, we love you. Don't worry about this mess. We'll clean it up. The dog will clean it up. So and I said, Nixon, there is nothing that you can ever do to not be a part of this family. And he looked at me and he stopped doing this and he started smiling. And afterwards I thought, do you think he was working me? I think he just played me. Because here's what you need to know about Nixon. You know what he has? Charm. He can charm his way out of trouble 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He has charm and he works it, boy. Everybody just say, work with what you have. Work with what you have. Listen, maybe what you have right now is stress and worry. Maybe what you have is it does not feel like the good old days right now, okay? And it feels bad. But listen, think about Daniel. You know what he had? He was kidnapped. He lost everything and everyone that he knew. And so what did Daniel do? Daniel worked with what he had and he got a promotion? What? Somehow, Daniel made the most of today by working with what he had. Just like Nixon works with what he has. And so in other words, things weren't 100% good, but Daniel made today the good old days by working with what he had. And so everybody just say this with me. I can work with what I have. Okay, so let's just play this out. Then let's kind of go through things not being so good. Maybe what you have right now is you went through a breakup. You know what you do have, though? You have more time. You have more money because dating's expensive. You have the opportunity to find somebody who's going to treat you better than that loser. So work with what you have. Maybe what you have is you've lost a job, okay? You know what you can work with? You have more time and the opportunity to now find a better job, to find a better paying job, to find a better boss, to find a job that fits you better. Work with what you have. Maybe what you have right now is you've lost somebody who's close to you. Somebody's passed away. I was thinking about this week. You know what you have when you're in that position? Because we've all gone through that before. You have the opportunity to reflect on what you learned from that person, reflect on the stories and influence that person made in your life, and now you have the opportunity to live a better life based on the influence they put in your life. You can work with what you have. Maybe what you have is you're a single parent, and I just want to give, like me, I'm going to stand as a standing ovation to single parents. Hardest job in the world. Hardest job in the world. But you know what you have? You still have a child that you get to shape, that you get to love, and you may not get to spend as much time with them as you want because you're sharing time, but the time you get to spend with them is even more precious because you understand the value of that time. So we work with what we have. And so Daniel teaches us that things don't have to be 100% good for today to be the good old days. So what do? We work with what we have to make the most of today. Here's the second point if you're taking notes. If you want to make today the good old days, pray that God will bless you. Pray that God will bless you. Now, speaking of bless, the Lord really blessed our family with a new family member a few years ago. And man, best family member. Like if I could add 7 more of this family member to our family, I would, it was such a blessing. And we took a picture with our favorite family member this week. We'll put it on the screen. This is our robot vacuum. Listen, I affectionately named this Clint Eastwood. This is Clint Eastwood. And he's the cleanest member of our family. He's the only clean member in our family, actually. But who has a robot vacuum? Anybody have a robot vacuum? Are they not the best thing ever? Ever. Listen, if this died today, I would buy another one instantly. And I'm not for credit card debt. I would go deep into debt. A lifetime of debt is a small price to pay for a robot cleaning your house every day, okay? And so I love our robot vacuum. But the other day, it messed up real bad. The other day, I was in the kitchen, and it was in our bedroom. And it didn't sound like, it sounded like something was wrong with Mr. Eastwood. Like it was making like some weird, it's like, rawr, rawr, rawr. And so I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So I walked to the bedroom, and when I walked in, it was like a horror movie what I saw. Because on our heavenly white, shaggy bedroom rug, I saw our robot vacuum, and it was trying to suck up, reposition, take another pass, suck up, reposition, take another pass, suck up, reposition, take another pass on a full-on dog biscuit. We'll call it a dog biscuit. And it had worked that dog biscuit in our rug thoroughly. And listen, God bless Clint Eastwood. He was working hard. It was like, there's something to clean up here. And it was like, it was like, I think I got airborne at one point. It's like, and the smell, it's just like a porta potty at the state fair. I mean, it was just bad. And I just stood, I was like, and our rug, Lord have mercy, the rug, and it was so far gone. Like, if you ever had like walked into something, it's like so far gone, you don't even try to stop it. I just stood there and I was like, Lord, I need the next 90 minutes of my life. I'm going to need your strength so much. And prayer is kind of a funny thing. Like when we're stressed and worried and when the robot vacuum is running over a dog biscuit, like we go into prayer mode. Isn't that true? When it's the good old days, we forget to pray sometimes. But when it's the bad old days, we're like, I need to pray. Is that how it works? And so let's connect prayer to Daniel. Daniel, he had been promoted, from kidnapped to a leader in Babylon. And the locals didn't like it. Okay, the locals are like, this guy's coming, he's taking our jobs. He's clogging up our roads, taking up our parking spots, making Wawa too busy. Having to stand in line, waiting for my turkey gobbler sub too long. And so the locals decided, let's convince the king to make it illegal for people to pray, because they knew Daniel prayed every single day, 3 times a day. And so they were able to convince the king to make it illegal to pray. And if you got caught praying, the Babylonian government would execute you. Everybody say, not good. Okay, so that's the law that goes into place. Let's see what happens. Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. It says, but when Daniel learned that this law had been signed, he went home and he knelt down, what? As usual. Whether it's good or bad, as usual, he knelt down and in his upstairs room, and with its windows open toward Jerusalem, this is what he did. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he has always done, giving thanks to God. So, isn't it true that Daniel was stressed and worried? Because you did the laws, he knew. It says he learned that the law had been signed. Like this would be a stressful and worried thing, but Daniel did the same thing when he was stressed and worried that he did as usual. When things are good or when things are bad, what did he do? He prayed. And what if 2023 was the year that you prayed every single day? What if this was the year you thanked God every single day? What if this was the year that you asked God to bless you, your family, your friends every single day? Because, guys, it's January. January. This is this is when we like to make good habits, right? Like for me, one of my habits I'm trying to do this year is I'm trying to stretch every single day. And the reason, listen, I don't know why, I am the most not flexible person physically and in other ways. I'm not flexible. I'm like so like every day I'm trying to like stretch because I'm like I haven't been able to touch my toes since Pizza Hut days. I'm more of like a knee toucher. That's where it goes. And so I'm trying to get in this habit of like stretching every day because 2023 is the year I touch 3 toes, people, or something. I don't know. I'm trying to make a motto out of it so I remember it. But you know what's an even better habit than getting in touch with your toes? Get in touch with your Heavenly Father. Listen, we get to talk to the almighty, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God. And I'm biased because I'm the preacher, but I'm telling you, if you're stressed and worried right now, the very best habit you can get into is praying every day. Just every day. And just so you know, it's okay if you pray that God will bless you. That's an okay prayer to pray. I know that I got to like put that out there because like you all talk to me about this stuff. You ask me questions, and I've gotten this question like, Joel, I don't know the rules to prayer. I Googled it, and Google seems to be giving me mixed results. And is it okay if I pray for God to bless me? I've gotten that question before. And let me just tell you, yes, you can pray for God to bless you, and you should pray for God to bless you. And just so you know, like full disclosure, my goal is to pray for you guys every single day. And so I virtually pray for you guys every single day. And if I'm praying for you to be blessed and for God to bless you, come on, somebody, you should be praying for God to bless you. And so what do we do? How do we do this? And we'll put this on the screen if you want to write this down. When you're stressed or worried or living your best life, make prayer a daily habit. Come on, good, bad, stressed, worried, make prayer a daily habit. I don't see anybody writing this down. Nobody took a picture of this screen. Look, this is good stuff. Only 4 of us have a New Year's resolution, so this should be the rest of our New Year's resolution. But just so you know, in 2023, I'm praying that God will bless your families. I'm praying that He'll bless your friends, your kids, your health, your mental health, your jobs, your relationships, your money. Come on, somebody. I'm not praying that He'll bless your Eagles. Clearly, somebody's been praying enough. They're doing pretty good, okay? I'm praying that God will bless our church. I'm praying that God will bless our church's future, which don't miss 2 weeks. I'm praying for our community. I'm even praying that God will bless those tourists who come into town in the next 4 months. I'm just praying for us and our community. And so if I'm praying for us, God to bless us, come on, we can pray for God to bless us. Can't we do that? Daniel prayed good, bad, and different, as usual, 3 times a day. All right, last idea is this. If you want to make today the good old days, trust that God's in the lion's den with you. If you want to make today the good old days, trust that God's in that lion's den with you. So I told you my habit is I'm trying to stretch or whatever. Another habit of mine that I'm trying to get into this year is trying to up my running. I'm trying to I run about 4 times a week. I want to run 5 times a week. And the reason is simple. I like pizza. And I'm not ready to give up pizza, and I can't afford to buy, new pants all the time. And so I gotta run, baby, to eat pizza. Anybody else work out to eat? That's how I do it, man. Don't put that on a poster, but that's why I do it. And so some of you are like, hey, I do the eating part, all right? But I'm trying to run more often, and I'm a weirdo because I like running outside in the cold more than I like running outside in the summer. So Christmas Eve, it was I think the real field temperature out was 4 degrees. And I ran 4 miles outside. I'm just telling you because I want to brag, all right? That's why I'm telling you, really. But it was so cold, all right? I'm running. I never thought this before. I thought my thighs got frostbite. So I'm running and I can't feel my legs, I'm which is hard. You run without feeling your legs. Some of you are different circumstances, Pastor, but I know what it's like to not feel my legs. Anyway, stop. We're glad you're here. Anyway, near our house, there's a state park trail, and that's where I run outside all the time, is on the state park trail. But a couple times a year, the state closes it down for people to go deer hunting, and, so hunters go out there with bow and arrows and, sticks or whatever they do. And so whenever there's hunters out on the state park trail, they close it to the public so nobody gets, an arrow in your neck or anything, And so they put this big yellow barrier up at all the entrances and all the trail heads that say things like, there are hunters in here, they will mistake you for a deer, don't go in here or you'll get an arrow in your neck. It's just stuff like that. Which, by the way, I'm always thinking if you can mistake a person for a deer, I don't think you should have a weapon. You know what I mean? I've been in Walmart and seen a lot of people in there, but I've never thought one of them was a deer. I wanted to stick an arrow in some of them, but never thought of... Anyway. So, Christmas Eve, it's 4 degrees outside, and I go running out the back of my house, and I'm running towards the trail, and I get to the trailhead, and there's no yellow barrier up. There's no sign that says, hey, there's hunting going on in here. And so I'm yes, I can run in the park. And so I'm running in the park, and there's nobody in the park. And I'm there's nobody in here because it's 4 degrees out here. It's just me and 4 degrees. I'm the only one doing it. And then I get a mile into the trail, and there's a fork in the trail where, other entry points or whatever. And I don't see a yellow barrier there. I see 2 yellow barriers there. And the barrier says, how did you make it this far? How are you even in the park right now? Was the other one, you cannot be, you are going to die. The people who shoot you are all around you right now. I was scared to death because in order for me to get out of the park, I still got to run a mile back the other direction where apparently people mistake people for deers. I know it's deer, but I just thought deers was funnier. But So I'm running. I'm like, I can't feel my legs. It's 4 degrees outside. I'm running through a place where I know there are possibly hunters, and I'm stressed. I'm worried. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get shot. I'm like texting my wife, I love you. I'm imagining, me getting like in the ER with an arrow in my, whatever. I actually have a picture of my imagination we'll put on the screen. This picture isn't real. But man, is it funnier the longer you look at it. Anyway, let's take that picture down. But I thought, my kids are going to have a dad for Christmas. I'm going to die. I'm like trying to get out of there. And like some of you are like, well, did you make it out alive? Oh my God. I'm not even going to answer the question, okay? But here's my question. Have you ever worried about something that you worried something was going to happen and it never happened? Does this ever happen to you? And so I was listening to this preacher the other day, and he said there's 3 outcomes to anything that you worry about. And so I'll put this, we'll walk through these on the screen. The first outcome to things you worry about is this. It doesn't happen. Statistically, research shows that 9 out of 10 things that you worry about never happens. 9 out of 10 things that you're worried about right now will not happen. Somebody say, praise the Lord or something. Take a breath. 9 out of things, it doesn't happen. All right, now here's the second outcome of worry. It happens. And so you're like, oh, of course it does. I'm the 1 out of 10. Of course. But statistics also show that when it does happen, most of the time it's not as bad as we think it's going to be. That ever happen to you? We're like, it's bad. It's going to be terrible. Oh, that wasn't so bad. So that's the second outcome. The third outcome is this. It happens. It's bad. But God carries you through it. It happens. It's bad. But God carries you through it. Now Daniel knows all about this last one. All right, so back to the story. He gets caught illegal praying. Bad. Then the rule is you get executed. Real bad. The form of execution is they feed you to lions while you're still alive. Can you imagine? I went to the Washington, D.C. Zoo one time, and there was a lion there that looked at me like I was a cheeseburger. I have never gone back. I'm terrified of lions. So imagine he's going to get thrown into this cave full of hungry lions. And so they do. They throw him in this cave full of hungry lions. Anybody, normal person would think, hey, I'm all alone. This would be stressful. This would be worrying. And maybe you know the story. The next morning, the king wants to see what happens. He runs to the cave, opens up, the cave, rolls a stone away. And he yells in, Daniel, did your God rescue you? And here's what he hears. This is in the verse 22 and 23. He hears from the dark cave, Daniel saying, my God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so they would not hurt me. For I have been found innocent in his sight. And then it says, not a scratch was found on him. For what? He had trusted in his God. This great story, right? Like put this on a Christian bumper sticker. Write a Christian song about it, like Christian coffee mug. This should just have this verse on it, right? Like praise hands emoji. Woo! But am I the only one thinking like, God, instead of like shutting the mouths of the lions, could you have shut the mouths of my accusers? Amen. Like I didn't really need to go in there and meet Mufasa. He's looking at me like I'm a cheeseburger. Listen, have you ever thought, God, did I really need to go through all that? Has anybody ever thought that before? Like, God, could you have showed up before the lions showed up? But you know what 35 years of being a Jesus follower has taught me? It's taught me this, and we'll put this on the screen. It's taught me that sometimes God doesn't rescue you from a situation. Sometimes God rescues you in a situation. Sometimes God doesn't rescue us from a situation. Sometimes God rescues us in a situation. So I thought we'd end by just kind of feeling what Daniel felt in that cave. Can we kind of just go to like when they put him in the cave? He walks in to the cave, or they drop him into the cave, however it worked. And then they put a stone over the back. It's completely dark. In fact, can we make it dark in here? He's in a cave, hungry lions, completely dark. Any normal person will feel like I'm all alone. Any normal person will feel stressed and worried. He doesn't know where the lion is, where the attack is going to come from. He feels in the dark. And maybe you came to church on the first Sunday in 2023 and you feel like you're in a dark chapter. You feel stressed. You feel worried. You feel like you're all alone. And I came to church today to tell you, while you're sitting in the dark right now, to do what Daniel did, which is trust in God. Trust that God is in there in the dark with you. Trust that God is in there when it's scary. Trust that God is there even when he doesn't rescue you from your situation. Because in that dark cave, Daniel found out he wasn't alone. In that dark cave, Daniel found out he had a rescuer. He found out he had a protector. Daniel found out that he had hope. And finally, the next morning, when the light came back into the cave, because the king rolled the stone away, the light came up. And Daniel realized in that moment that God didn't rescue him from his situation. But man, God rescued him in the situation. And so I came to church on the first Sunday of 2023 to tell you that God still rescues people in the dark. God still rescues us when we feel hopeless. God still rescues us from the lion's den. God still rescues us from stress. He still rescues us from worry. He still rescues you from whatever is trying to devour you today. Which means 2023 can still be the good old days for you. It means today, God can make today the good old days because he rescues us in the dark. He doesn't always rescue us from our situation, but he will always, somebody say always. He will always rescue us in our situation. Let me pray for you. Jesus, I'm so thankful that we can relate to this story. Even though it's such an old story, it's a classic story in the Bible, but we know what it's like to be in the dark. And we can imagine what Daniel must have felt like when that stone rolled over that entrance and it was dark. And we feel like that sometimes. And we don't know how could today be the good old days when things aren't good or when we're stressed, or maybe it's not a big thing, it's just we're busy. But God, I just pray that we'll walk out of here knowing that you can make today the good old days. Because you are in the cave with us. You are still a rescuer. And God, I pray for people who need to hear that today, that they have a rescuer. God, I pray that you'll just drive that deep in their heart, deep in their soul, that they have a rescuer, and it's the best rescuer on earth. It's the best rescuer in the galaxy. It is you, Lord. And so God, I pray that we'll hold on to that and we'll just have hope today. We're so thankful that you give us hope. We're so thankful that we can look at today, even if things aren't perfect, and we can realize you're good. You are good, because one day, years from now, we're going to look back on today and say, yeah, those were the good old days. And help us to know it today. Help us to not miss the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Help us to know it now. So God, we thank you. And we pray we'll make some great moments together in 2023. And everybody said, amen.